Good morning, welcome to Ikate's Crossing. Okay, so we're up to the last sort of chapter of the Secret of Shambhala by James Redfield, the third book in the series of the Celestine Prophecy. So we were looking for the 11th insight, in search of the 11th insight. It's getting close to the end. Of course, it's the Secret of Shambhala chapter 16. So we are going to continue this, but let's have a look and see what the cards have to say first. Okay, so let's just take a nice deep breath and let's think about what we've learned over this journey. Let's take a nice deep breath and think about what have we learned in this process. Okay, so let's have a look. What have we learned? Whoa, okay. So so when I said what have we learnt, we've got 10 of Pentacles. So we've got a wealth of information. And we've learned about our own spirituality, our own beliefs. Okay, so I do feel like there's a lot of us that are unpacking. I think we're sort of unpacking our own beliefs in the system. With what's going on, definitely feels like we have got this wealth of abundance, this prosperity in our life now. Now, I'm not talking money, okay? I'm not talking finances. I'm talking knowledge, this raising of vibrations. I feel like there's a wealth of raising our vibrations, a raising of energy, a wealth of energy, a sense of our beliefs and everything. Okay, so that's what we've learned at the moment. What is still hidden from us? Oh, that was kind of interesting. So what's still hidden from us? What is still hidden? We haven't quite reached a sense of harmony. Okay? We might have a wealth of, we've learned about the wealth of abundance and prosperity, but we don't quite yet have the harmony. Maybe we haven't quite learned the give and take energy, you know, having that sense of balance in some way, that harmonious energy. I feel like that's still, ooh, interesting. Okay, we're going through transformation and changes. Okay, so I think our changes are still hidden, our transformation is still hidden from us at this time. So the harmony, the transformations are still sort of hidden from us. So what's next on our journey? What's next on our journey? What's next on our journey? What's next on our journey with this? What's next? Oh, okay. So next we have pushing through the challenges, the things that weigh us down. Pushing through those challenges is kind of really important here. So pushing through the challenges. Okay, what else lies ahead for us? What else lies ahead for us? Oh, okay. What lies ahead for us? Final. Okay, a sense of completeness and wholeness, right? We've got this burdens, we've got 10 of Wands and 10 of Swords, telling us that there is a sense of completeness coming in, a sense of wholeness, but it comes from pushing through the final stages. Okay, pushing through the final stages. So there's a lot for us here. We've learned a lot in regards to the wealth and abundance and prosperity, the sense of our faith and our beliefs, right? But there's still we still haven't quite mastered harmonious energy, and we're still going through the changes, the transformations. We still haven't quite mastered that energy, right? So what lies ahead for us? A sense of completeness, wholeness, a sense of being able to push through the ending of something to create something new. Okay, is there anything else that we need to know in regards to this journey? Oh. To remember to pause, take a moment to think about our goals, to reflect on where we've been and what lies ahead for us, to remember to take that pause. Super important there. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Okay, so give us a card for reflection. Give us a card for reflection. Okay, give us a card for reflection. Okay. What have we got here? Karma. Just because your past wrong deeds have led to an unfavorable situation doesn't mean you have to let yourself suffer. Respond positively and make virtuous choices in each present moment. It's kind of interesting. I think that comes down to our beliefs and our thoughts, right? It comes down to our beliefs, our faith. Okay, so just because your past wrong deeds have led to an unfavorable situation, so maybe things are a little bit difficult right now, but if you respond positively and make virtuous choices in each present moment, you don't actually need to suffer. That's kind of interesting. So what number was that? Sorry, what number was that? 4. So let's read this a little bit further here. Karma is not fate. Everyone deserves happiness, both temporary and ultimate happiness. Despite what we've done in the past, actions leave imprints in your mind that dissolve like writing on water. Thus, everyone has the potential to change. Okay, so it did say we're going through the changes and transformation. That seems to be still hidden from us. We're still going through that process. So don't let your friends suffer just because they did something non-virtuous due to ignorance. Similarly, don't settle down to live with suffering yourself. Take every second as an opportunity to be born completely anew and virtuous. Leave the suffering behind with the past that no longer exists and take the opportunity to rise up to virtue in every new moment. It's kind of interesting here. So even if things are difficult, you can still choose to move through that process, to push through, to have an ending to that process so that you can have the new beginnings that you want. Okay, so let's begin this. Let's continue this Secret of Shambhala, chapter 16. Okay. When I stepped through the window, my foot landed on familiar soil, and I felt the warm air on my face. I was back at home. As I looked around, I noticed that Tashi and Natalie were standing together, looking into each other's eyes, talking rapidly. Their faces were elated, as though they had just discovered something. Will stood by their side. Behind them was Natalie's father, Bill, and several other neighbours from around the community, including Father Brannigan and Sir Debo, and Julie Carmichael, a Protestant minister. All of them looked slightly confused. Bill walked over to me. I don't know where you came from, but thank God you're here. I pointed towards the clerics. What is everyone doing here? Natalie asked them to come. She's been talking about legends and showing us how to create prayer fields. All sorts of things. Apparently, these ideas have been coming to her. She said she could see what was happening to you, and we've been seeing someone watching your house. I looked up the hill and was about to say something when Bill interrupted. Natalie also said something strange. She said she had a brother. Who is that kid she's talking to? I'll explain later, I said. Who's been watching my house? Bill didn't answer. He was watching as Will and the others were walking up to us. At that moment, we heard vehicles approaching on the hill above us. A blue van pulled up to my house. 2 men got out, saw us, and walked out to an overhang 100 feet above us. The Chinese intelligence, Will said. Chang must have alerted them. We have to create a field. I was expecting the clerics to ask what that was, but instead they nodded in agreement. Natalie began to lead us through the extensions, Tashi at her side. Begin with the energy of the Creator, she said. Let it come into your body and fill you up. Let it flow out the top of your head and through your eyes. Let it flow out into the world in a constant prayer field until you see only beauty and feel only love. In a heightened alertness, expect this field to move out and boost the spiritual fields of the men above us, raising them into their intuitions. Up on the hill, the men stared ominously and started down the path towards us. Tashi looked over at Natalie and nodded. Now, Natalie began, we can empower the angels. I glanced at Will. What? First, Natalie continued, we must make sure our fields are fully set to enter the fields of the men up there. See it happening. They aren't enemies. They're people, souls in fear. And then we must acknowledge the angels fully and very deliberately visualize them coming to the men. Then with all your expectations, visualize them amplifying our prayer fields. Empower the angels fully to energize the higher selves of these men beyond what we can do alone, uplifting the men into an awareness that is incapable of evil. I was staring at the two men on the hill, searching for the lighter area that would indicate the presence of the Dakini, struggling to focus but seeing nothing. It's not working, I said to Will. Look, he shouted, up there to the right. As I stared, I began to detect a light approaching, then noticed that the light was surrounding a person who was walking towards the two men. The men surrounded by the light had on the uniform of a deputy sheriff. Who's that officer? I asked Bill. He looks familiar. Wait, Will said, it's not a person. I looked again and watched as the deputy began to talk with the two men. The light surrounded them and they finally walked back towards their vehicle. Excuse me. Although the deputy remained where he was, the light extended out to them and surrounded the van and they quickly left. The extension worked, Will said. I wasn't really listening. My eyes were focused on the deputy, who had turned towards us. He was tall and had black hair. Where had I seen him before? It came to me as he turned and walked away. This was the same man I had seen at the pool in Kathmandu, the one had first told me about the prayer research, the one I had glimpsed on several other occasions, the one Will had called my guardian angel. They're always posed as humans when necessary, Tashi said, walking up to me with Natalie. We have just completed the last extension, Tashi added. We finally know the secret of Shambhala. We can now begin to perform as those in Shambhala have done. They have looked out on the world and found key situations that were occurring, and then interceded with not only the strength of their own prayer field, but the strength of the angelic realms as well. This is the role of the angels to amplify. I don't understand, I said. Why didn't it work when we tried to stop Chang just before we came through the window? I didn't know the last step, Tashi said. I didn't realize what those in the temples were doing until I could talk to Natalie. She'd been uplifting Chang, which was necessary, but we didn't know how to empower the angelic forces to come in on our energy and intervene. We have to begin with acknowledging the angels, but then at this level of energy, we have to empower them to act. We must do this very intentionally. We must ask them to come. Tashi stopped and looked out thoughtfully towards the horizon, a smile breaking on his face. What is it, Tashi? I asked. It's Ani and the rest of Shambhala, he said. They're linking with us. I can feel them. He asked for everyone's attention. There's one more thing we can do. We can empower the angels in a general way to protect this valley. We followed along as Natalie led us through the process of setting a special field to flow out to the tops of the wooded ridges in all directions around the valley, and to empower the angels to protect us. Visualize an angel being stationed on each ridge, she said. Shambhala was always protected. We can be protected too. We all continued to focus on the mountains for several more minutes. Then the two youths began another intense conversation between themselves as we listened. They were talking about the other kids who had come through Shambhala and the need for them to wake up wherever they are. They told us that the kids coming in right now are more powerful than ever before. They're bigger, stronger, more intelligent in a whole new way. More are involved in extracurricular activities than ever before. They sing, dance, play a greater variety of sports, make music, write. More of them are developing their talents at an earlier age than was ever seen in previous generations. There's only one problem. The force of their expectation is much greater, but they haven't learnt to fully monitor the effects of their thoughts yet. They can learn how the prayer fields work. We can help them. We watched as all the clerics began to walk towards Bill's house, along with Natalie and Tashi, who were still deeply engaged in conversation. A moment of skepticism swept over me. Even after all that I've still had my doubts that humans could really empower angels. Do you really think we can summon angels to help ourselves and others? I asked Will. Would we be given that much power? It's not that easy, he said. In fact, it is impossible for someone with negative intentions to attempt. None of this works unless we are fully connected within with the energies of the Creator and sending our energy very consciously out in front of us, touching others. If we have the slightest bit of ego involved or anger present, all the energy collapses and the angels can't respond. Do you see what I'm saying? We're God's agents on this planet. We can affirm and hold the vision of divine will. And if we authentically get in alignment with that positive future, we'll have enough prayer energy to direct the angels to act. I nodded, knowing he was right. Do you see what all this is? He asked. All this information is the 11th insight. The knowledge of the prayer fields takes human culture a step further. When we understand the 10th, that human purpose on this planet was to create an ideal spiritual culture by holding the vision, something was still missing. We didn't know exactly how to hold it. We didn't know the details of how to use our faith and expectation energetically. Now we know. The reality of Shambhala, the secret of prayer fields, has given us this. We can now hold the vision of a spiritual world and act to bring it about through our creative power. Human culture can't progress further until we consciously use this power in the service of spiritual evolution. We have to do as those in the temples were doing, methodically. Set our prayer fields on all those key situations out there that will make the difference. The true role of the media, especially television, is to point out these problem areas. We must notice every discussion, every scientific debate, every struggle someone is having between the dark and light, and take the time to use our fields. He looked around. We can do this in small communities, churches, circle of friends all over the world. But what if the power of every religion was combined into one giant unified prayer field? Right now the field is fragmented, even cancelled out by negative prayer and hatred. Good people are letting their thoughts add to evil, thinking it doesn't matter. But what if that changed? What if we set a field larger than the world has ever seen, sweeping across the planet to uplift those insidious forces everywhere who want to centralize power and control everyone else? What if every reform group and every profession and occupation knew how to do this? What if an awareness of the field spread that far? Will paused for a moment. And what if we all really believed in the angelic realms, he continued, and knew that it was our birthright to empower them? There's no situation we couldn't immediately affect. The new millennium could look a lot different from how it is now. We would truly be the warriors of Shambhala, winning the battle over how the future will look. He stopped talking and looked at me very seriously. It is the true challenge of this generation if we don't succeed. All the sacrifices of the past generations could be in vain. We might not get past the environmental damage that is occurring, or the insidious acts of the controllers. The important thing, Will continued, is to begin to build a conscious thought network to link the warriors together. Every person who knows how to connect with everyone else in their lives who would want to know. I was silent. What Will was saying made me think of Yin and all the others under the Chinese tyranny. What had happened to him? I wouldn't have made it without his help. I told Will what I was thinking. We can still find him, Will said. Television is only the precursor to perfecting your mind's eye. Remember, try to find an image of where he is. I nodded and tried to let my mind go black, thinking only of Yin. Instead, the face of Colonel Chang appeared and I recoiled. I told Will what had happened. Remember the look he had, Will said, when he seemed to be waking up, and found that expression in the image. I found that expression in my mind's eye. Then suddenly the image shifted to Yin in a jail cell, surrounded by guards. I saw Yin, I said, extending my prayer energy and empowering the higher realms until the scene grew lighter all around him. Then I visualized the light spreading to those who were keeping it imprisoned. See an angel by Yin, Will said, and by the Colonel. I nodded, thinking of the Tibetan code of compassion. Will raised an eyebrow and smiled as I concentrated again on the images. Yin would be safe. Tibet would be eventually be free. This time I had no doubt. Okay, so that's it from me. That's it. Finished. Wow, wow, wow. What an interesting journey that has certainly been. Wow, certainly an interesting journey. Okay, so that's it from me. Don't forget to check the links down below. Check the links on my channel. Like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you know when the next video will be uploaded. Now, as a Ko-Fi member, I know your preview, this is your preview before it gets made public. Of course, we're still a few episodes behind. Okay, publicly. So that's it from me. A big thank you to my Ko-Fi supporters. Thanks for supporting the channel through liking and watching the video, for subscribing. Take care and blessed be.